Hey, it's After the Gig, and I'm Jesse Humphrey, and today on the show I have the wonderful Mark McCullough of the Ohio-based rock band Red, Wanting Blue. I was playing a show in Columbus with Carbon Leaf, and Mark decided to come by and sit down with me and have a conversation before the doors opened, and then the doors opened and people showed up, and then we kind of wrapped things up pretty quick after that. But it was a really, really lovely conversation, and that completes all the boys of Red, Wanting Blue have been on the podcast now. Really love talking to Mark. I have a new newsletter. Check that out in the description below. It's free to subscribe and it comes out on Sundays. On May 16th, the Over the Hump live stream is back, and it's going to be streaming from the Facebook After the Gig group. So make sure you go check it out. It's only going to be streaming from there, and there's a ton of guest artists. Liz Longley, Stephen Kellogg, Pat McGee, Brian Dunn, and a few more. So it's going to be really, really great, and I'm really looking forward to it. So that's May 16th, 8 p.m. from the After the Gig group on Facebook. Without further ado, this is my conversation with the lovely Mark McCullough of Red, Wanting Blue.
I mean, who wants to be home with their family?
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, how is it for you touring around with Ethan at home? And
It's, you know how it is. It's awesome sometimes, and then other times you're like, miss being home. Like, for me, the sweet spot of being away is like a weekend. A weekend's cool.
Yeah.
And then after like 4 or 5 days, then it's like, oh, I miss being home. And then beyond that, it's like, I could be out here forever. You know what
like,
I mean?
This is my new life now.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I guess this is just how it is now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the questions on Facebook, on the Facebook group, but a couple people offered questions.
Yeah.
So we'll get right into those, because I want to have you answer those before too many people show up and people are like, oh, Mark's here from Red, Wanting Blue.
I don't think that's a bassist from a band usually is not one can go pretty much unnoticed.
Are you guys like, you have a big following here, or is it mostly Cleveland?
Yeah, no, this is actually our home base. Columbus is our hometown.
Okay.
And we do pretty decently here.
What's the venue you guys would play here?
For a long time, it was the Newport Music Hall, which is up on campus. It's like an old movie theater, kind of renovated too.
Okay.
It's like a really long-lasting rock club that's been there.
What's the capacity there?
It's 1,500.
Okay.
But we have not sold it out. It usually get about 1,000 people in there.
Okay, so it's like similar to our Richmond show, where
Sure.
like, I think a sellout's like 1,500, and we do like 1,200 or something like that. But yeah, it's a lot of people.
Yeah, but there's a number of venues around here that are kind of good for mid-size bands. Like the Bluestone is like a renovated church down in the downtown area. There's an Athenaeum. The venue is like it's almost like a mini arena. They do like a lot of weddings there too, but it's great for concerts. They've started doing that within the last few years as well. So there's some good venues here.
You know Elmo?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That I do.
So Elmo asks, he says, I've only met a couple of musicians who have mastered the Chapman stick. And I was wondering, who introduced you to the Chapman stick? What songs inspired you to play it? And how many do you own?
Well, I mean,
I've never seen anyone play the Chapman stick as well.
Yeah, it's a kind of a rare instrument, and that's very kind of Elmo to say that he's only. I'm not one of the people that have mastered the instrument by any means. So he must be talking about some other people. I got the Chapman stick about 20 years ago. My guitar player at the time was buying stuff off of eBay, musical instruments of all kinds. And unbeknownst to me, he bought that one, and I think he just got frustrated with it.
Mm-hmm.
It just, when you open it up, you look at it, it just looks like a 2x4 with some strings on it. Like, what do I do with this? So he gave it to me. He put it like at my feet and just said, write some songs. So and at the time it was maybe my second year. Carter, what's up? And it was my second year in the band, so I hadn't really provided much material yet for songwriting stuff. And,
you weren't an original member?
No, I mean the band started in '96. I joined in '99. So once they got out of college at Ohio University, they moved up to the next biggest city, which was Columbus at the time, from where they went to school, and that's where I ran into them here. I mean, I had a history with them before they moved up here. I was in bands that opened up for Red, Wanting Blue back in college and stuff, and got chummy with them. And then when they were moving on from their old bass player, I got a call to be, auditioned, whatever that means.
And that's pretty early on.
Yeah, like 2.5, 3 years into it.
That's like nothing for a band.
For a band, especially a band that's been around for almost 30 years now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so at the time, that was I had not really provided any material, and I wasn't much of a songwriter at the time either. It was just strictly a bass player. So the Jab and Stick kind of gave me an instrument, a way of providing songs, because at the time, recording like demos, a lot of it was just recording one track on a cassette tape and passing that along through members and see if something sticks. And using a bass to do that, that's never going to work really. Right. And so the Jab and Stick gave me that avenue, and started writing songs pretty quickly with it. First one, feel like we kind of missed the mark, and then the second one was a little bit better. We still play that one every once in a while, and then the last one was Spies and Lovers, which is a song that we have, and we play almost every show to now. And
well, that's what I was going to ask you, what that song was, because I couldn't remember the name of it.
Right. Yeah.
I love that.
And one that really is, a lot of the fans, it resonated with them, and if it didn't, I think the Jab and Stick may have just kind of gone away.
Yeah.
And but because of that song, it comes out almost every show.
That's
now.
cool.
So.
It's interesting to me that you say you weren't much of a songwriter or anything like that, because when I talk to Dean or when I talk to Eric, they said that whenever you have an idea or you come up with something, it's like very thought out, and it's very it's very kind of like in the latter stages of the way a song would be created by the time it comes from you and gets to the rest of the group.
I know. I tend, now, because back in the day, like, there wasn't really access to home studios. I mean, like, Pro Tools was kind of out, but not many people had it. And it wasn't until like the MacBook came out that GarageBand was apparent, and it became everyone could have some sort of home recording setup.
Right.
And having access to keyboards and synths, and being able to plug my guitar and bass in, you could really get carried away really quickly. Sometimes that happens. If I come up with a chord progression I like, or a melody that comes out of my head, and I get ahead of myself sometimes. Just start, stay up to 4 a.m. and just kind of work to see this song completed.
Yeah.
Which again, like, that doesn't work out very well in the band situation, because if the band hears it, they're like, well, what do I do at this point now?
Right.
And for this last record, like with a song like Goliath, it was a song just like that. It was pretty much done, and I sent it to Scott, and I didn't hear anything for a couple months. This tends to happen. Sometimes it gets right back to me. Sometimes it takes. Sometimes I'm still waiting on him to get back to me on songs.
Will you have like lyrical or?
Oh no, never. Yeah,
nothing like that.
Nothing vocal wise, nothing lyrically. It's just always just music.
Okay, so you'll have like a verse, a chorus section, like where it might go with a bridge, or where it comes back, and then
exactly.
Because I imagine the arrangement or whatever will change when lyrics come in, and things will be added or subtracted.
Exactly. Okay. It all goes through a process. But again, like with Goliath, it was again a completed song that I sent over to Scott, and it took him a while to get back to me. So I still really felt good about the song.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, sometimes if I go to Eric or Dean and get them involved in it, and get their stuff on there, and then bring it back to Scott again, then it can kind of nudge them with that. But Scott got back to me, but before that, I took the drums out of my track and sent the song to Dean, and so he had no idea what the drums that I had on there were before. He kind of had like a first crack at it, and he put on stuff that was completely different than what I had in mind. It's much more up-tempo and rock and roll, and I loved it. And so I immediately took the guitars out and sent it to Eric, and he got back to me that night.
That's cool.
With his guitar take on it, and it was like, and then this again, like, Scott got back to me as well with the original version, but still worked with what Dean and Eric did and put it together. I'm like, well, there's the song. It's now it sounds like a band song. Yeah. It's not like my song anymore.
Has Dean ever put drums on something and been like, that was interesting?
He always knows the right thing to do.
That's a yes. Moving on.
Right. One take, I'm done. Yeah. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. This is how I interpreted it. That's the end of the discussion. But
it's an up-tempo number.
Yeah.
Jimmy said it's a slow number, but it's up-tempo.
It's up-tempo now.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's very tasteful, and he goes back and adds like overdubs and percussion and all that stuff. Gives me options to kind of pick and choose what parts to use, but it's always it's always really tasteful.
It must be great having Dean around. He's
inspiring to play with for sure.
It's great. I mean, he's one of my favorite drummers, and
mine too.
And just like, I think you guys have been doing kind of blog-esque posts on Instagram and Facebook and stuff. He'll say like coming from Scott or coming from Dean or whatever. And he posts stuff about being an orchestral drummer and always trying to find a way to add those kinds of textures and sounds into his playing and stuff. And it's like, whenever I see him play, I was like, wow, can't believe he thought to do that. Or he's grabbing a bunch of shakers or whatever.
It stresses me out when I look at him play. Sometimes it's like it's too much. But
he makes it look effortless.
Yeah,
just the hair.
Oh, you should try giving him a hug at the end of the show. There's a lot of effort put in there.
It's disgusting. All right, John said to ask you about the Billy Rubin. He said it's a legit question.
It is a legit question. It's when I had mono back when I was in college, and it kind of spread to my liver, and doing all the testing and stuff, they found that I had a syndrome called Gilbert syndrome. It's elevated Billy Rubin levels, the one
what
thing
are Billy Rubin levels?
It's just like an enzyme that your liver produces.
Okay.
Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just kind of talking out my ass right now.
I have elevated liver enzyme.
Oh, okay. Is Billy Rubin one of them?
I've never heard Billy Rubin, but I have Crohn's disease, but I had my gallbladder removed.
Okay.
Also, so it's like my liver enzymes have always been elevated because of the medications that I take. So if I, have a night out drinking or something like
that,
really
go up.
They'll really shoot up. So I have to be careful. But that's
well,
weird.
yeah. Again, like the positive aspect of the elevated Billy Rubin's that breaks down cholesterol. So that's my mutant ability, is that I can save myself from a heart attack. I can't help anybody else with this Billy Rubin, but it does help out me.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure that I've not done a ton of research on it. I'm sure my life expectancy is shorter in some way, but for right now.
But mono did that?
Well, I think it was just found because I had mono. They did at the time I was in college, and I don't think I had any blood tests for quite a while up until that point.
Okay.
And they just found it there.
Interesting. And that's something that you just have forever.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Is it hereditary or anything? Or
not that I'm aware of, no.
Strange.
Yeah. It's odd, but yeah. It doesn't really affect my day-to-day existence, but
right.
Yeah,
it's fascinating. I love medical stuff.
I know. That's why I really enjoyed your and John's last podcast. You just talk about your old man woes.
Oh my God.
We all have them.
It's crazy, because especially we talked about dermatologists and stuff.
Yeah.
And just I feel like every time I go, they're always cutting something off, but nothing has come back with it, being bad or anything. It's
but just even the process of them saying ooh, we might want to cut this off, and you're like, oh God, so that's now I'm going down a rabbit hole of anxiety. Stress. Yeah, exactly.
You have a week of anxiety until the test comes back, and they're like, you're good.
Right.
Sometimes they forget to call, and then you call back, like, hey, it's like no news is good news.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if we don't call, don't worry.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's medical woes are just a whole other thing. But that's why I've been trying to get in decent shape, I've been trying to diet and lose some weight and stuff like that. And just being on the road, it's exhausting.
Yep.
And you're constantly loading in, loading out. If I'm not in great shape by any means, but from the beginning of a tour to the end of the tour, you really see and notice a difference. I do.
Oh yeah.
Just being able to pick things up with ease, or not be out of breath when after a loadout I have to lay down.
Yeah, it's weird how the muscles that you use for loading and loading out don't get used when you're not on the road. But
no.
The first couple days you're like, this used to be easy, and then sure enough it is. After 5 or 6 shows, you're like, okay, now I got this the muscle behind your shoulder that you use to launch stuff up above on the top rack. And
for me, because I'm constantly bending over picking up mics or cymbal stands and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and setting them up, like my back starts to burn. I get that burn in my lower back, and then towards the end of the thing, I don't feel like that. It feels like I have like mountains on my back or whatever.
Have you ever thrown your back out before?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that is the worst.
It's bad.
I've only had it happen twice, but I just collapsed my knee. I was holding Magnus, just getting him out of the crib at the time, as he was like maybe 1 or 2, and just lifted him up over the crib, and I just felt the seize of the lower back, and I fell to my knees. And I literally was just like, I just tried to hold him and like have him fall on top of me, but I couldn't stop myself from falling to the ground and just laying over back on my back and just laying there like, help me.
Yeah, it's bad. I've done it a couple times, but the last time I did it was actually in LA.
Yeah.
When we were pulling up to a venue, and we had no business going down this alleyway that we went down, and we attempted it twice, like idiots. And
with that vehicle?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And someone dropped a bunch of cups. Oh no,
Someone's having a party over there.
But like when we had went around the corner, we didn't have enough room to turn to straighten out the trailer. So the trailer was this way, and the vehicle was straight in this alley, and there was when I tell you there was no room, I mean there was no room. We were hitting shit on the buildings.
This is giving me, I need to stop this conversation. It's giving me PTSD.
It was honestly, it was just like we're watching it like, what is happening? Why are we doing this? It was the worst thing ever. And then we all got someone who shall remain nameless.
Oh no, please.
Had the brilliant idea to try to lift the trailer to straighten it out.
Did you empty the trailer?
It was empty.
Okay.
It was empty.
I mean, okay.
But it's still thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
So we go, and we're all just like, begrudgingly doing this, and we went to pick it up, and we're giving it like, I gave it all my might, and I went and I was like, uh-oh. And I literally stood up and like waddled to the ground, and I had to like lie down in this parking lot on my back for like a couple minutes. It was bad. It wasn't so bad where I couldn't go on. But it was like I needed a minute.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It was bad.
Yeah.
No good.
Jesse, come back and we need your help. No, it's not going to happen right now.
No,
Sorry.
I'm good.
I'm going to over here lie on this concrete slab here over here. It's quite comfortable, thanks.
And then I'm going to get food, and I'm not talking to you guys for at least an hour.
I know. I can only imagine you guys. I mean, there's that one time where we were playing in Atlanta where our bus broke down like a mile from the venue, and Terry came over, unhitched your guys' trailer, brought your vehicle over, and
oh wow. When was this?
This was like we're going down to the Rock Boat. I mean, I think it was like January. It was right before COVID hit. And we played like a few shows, like 5 or 6 shows with you guys on the way down to the Rock Boat.
Oh, well, I was there. Well, I
think so. Yeah.
I remember we blew a trailer tire, and then you guys pulled over.
Yeah, that was happened the day after we broke down.
Oh man.
You might have been like setting up or something like that at the time, but
that's what it was, because he must have went back and got it while we were all at the venue.
Right.
I forgot.
I know. But
so we have another couple questions on here.
Please.
Might as well hit these. It would be from Matt Whitehead. It would be interesting to hear both of your thoughts on being members of a decentralized band. Red Wanting Blue is spread out, much more so than Carbon Leaf. So how do both bands handle schedule and getting into a communal space for practice and whatnot?
Yeah, well, for us personally, Eric has moved back to Columbus, so now we have 3 of us living in Columbus, and Dean lives in Youngstown, which is like 2 hours away. So it's not that bad to get around. Scott's the outlier. He's in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
For him, it sucks for him. So I guess it'd be something needs to be asked of him.
Yeah.
But for the most part, what we do is just like before we head out for a tour or whatever it is, just come in 2 days beforehand and set up all the gear, make sure no gremlins got in there and muck things up, and play through a few songs, make sure we remember everything, and then we just head on out.
Right.
Again, for writing as well, a lot of it is over online, just MP3s back and forth. And then when we have a record that we're doing, especially this last one, we would just book studio time Everyone will come in 2 days beforehand. We did recorded 2 songs at a time this time, so we just got into our rehearsal space and just hashed them out, and then went in the studio, and then everyone just went their separate ways after that too. So it's not that, again, I'm saying this as the person doesn't have to drive a 20-hour round trip, but we make it work that way.
He drives?
He does. A lot of the times he does,
wow.
yeah. He I think part of me thinks he likes it.
Yeah. Well, he said that he likes to like think in the car.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a thing.
Plays his ukulele, he can use that time to write, or if people have been sending him songs, he can plug in his phone and kind of try to work out melodies.
Still so much travel time.
It is a lot, crazy. Yeah. It's and to have New York City be either the landing spot or the departure like that, you have to deal with that traffic coming in and or out.
Right.
Just kill me now.
Man. Yeah, for me, I'm the one that it sucks for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. When I fly, I mean,
yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like there is a benefit to it because I book my travel, so I get my points and my miles and stuff like that, and I don't mind flying. It was a lot easier when I lived in Boston because I could just take an Uber to the airport, and that was maybe 20, 30 minutes to get to the airport. TSA pre-check, you're right in, and then you get right on the plane. It's a small plane. Usually you get the upgrade, which is nice because there's not too many people taking that flight. There's 3 of them a day. That was great. Living in Boston was amazing. And it's only like an hour, 10-minute flight. So just put the headphones on. I would fall asleep every time. 9 times out of 10, the landing would wake me up.
Oh yeah.
And that was great. And I get to get picked up by John, and we hang out and all that stuff, which is fun. But lately, since now we live in Rhode Island again, I'll have to drive up to Boston. So I'll have to like factor that in. I'll leave the night before. I won't get until late. I'll miss dinner. Like there's a lot of like little things. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, but still, it's an extra day of travel.
Extra day of travel, and I usually bring a lot of stuff. So like, I only get to check a couple of bags, and if one of them is gear, then that's like less personal stuff I get to bring. So it's harder when we have a long trip.
Do you fly home from the last gig?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Good for you.
That's the other benefit is I don't have to deadhead back to Richmond with the guys. But so this run, the last gig is Pittsburgh. So and my wife works for Hilton, and we get like great hotel deals too. So like with Marriott and Hilton.
Oh, great.
So wherever we go, I could probably find a $40 hotel.
Oh man,
it's pretty good.
That's a perk. That is a perk right there.
So I'm staying at the hotel airport after Pittsburgh, and then flying home at like 6 a.m. the next morning. But the bad thing for that is like I just have a gig the night before.
Yeah.
Barely any sleep.
And like,
super early
imagine
flight.
The fact that you're on 11 shows in 11 days.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
insanity.
We don't believe in days off.
I know.
I do.
Yeah.
Apparently Jordan doesn't.
No.
Barry doesn't.
No. That's pretty intense. I mean, you're on like 6 right now. 5 or 6?
5 or 6.
Okay, that's where we usually draw the line for like a camp out day or.
I don't know what it is, but like I don't mind it. Once you get going, once the wheels are turning and whatever, the problem is like you don't have any time for error. There's no room for error.
No, any breakdown or any vehicle issue, they just ruin everything.
Right. So that is like kind of the tough part. We have it all dialed in. I'm sure you guys do too, with driving and who does what, who wakes up when, who's the better night driver, who does whatever. So it's all pretty dialed in. But like if there's a snafu during the day, that's late load in, that's a rush, that's no dinner, that's like a tired show, and then it goes into the. It goes into the nighttime, rolls over to the next day, and it's rough. And sometimes you got to rent a vehicle if it's really bad, which is just absolutely awful.
That's a nightmare.
But who does most of the driving for you guys? I know Scott does a little bit.
Yeah, Dean and Scott. I was kind of forced into retirement of driving.
Really?
Yeah, just one too many errors. Especially
really?
I've gotten us into
You don't strike me as someone that would have errors with the driving.
With my own vehicle, not so much, but with a massive vehicle, I've been known to, at least early on when we first started driving it, I got it. There's some some gauging you need to do when you're making a left-hand turn about how much room you have, if you can make it. And we were playing one time in particular. This is actually when I retired. We were playing Chattanooga, and we wanted to go to this little restaurant that deemed related to some vegetarian place. We went, ate the food. It was great, good stuff. And then we couldn't make a left-hand turn to get back onto the main road, so we had to take a right. And we couldn't. It was like 5-6 miles until you could actually have like a turnaround. But I found this restaurant that had like a little parking lot that had an exit way onto a side road that can bring me back around. I'm like, I think I could do that. I got everyone's approval. Everyone said, let's do it. And but I took the turn from the parking lot onto the main road too tight, and what was facing me was a sheer rock wall.
Oh shit.
So I was turning, and I'm like hoping to God I was going to make it, and I'm like, I think I can. I can. And we got it, and the bumper hit. I mean, it was, it didn't hit the wall. It just, I slowly was like really making it, and you felt that little tap that we made contact with this sheer face rock wall. And so we're kind of jackknifed, and I'm thinking, well, I think we can back ourselves out a little bit. And as soon as I hit the reverse button, the air brakes lowered the vehicle down.
Oh no!
And it was kind of locked on underneath the bumper, so we heard some cracking.
Oh god!
And then so we immediately stopped that, and we had to. The only way we got out of it was we had to unload the trailer, unhitch the trailer, push it ourselves to get it out of the way, and then we were able to back the vehicle up and get out of there. And then there's some damage to the vehicle, so once we got the vehicle safely off the road, Scott was kind of doing a little patchwork on the bumper, and I'm just sitting there my head down. I feel terrible about everything, and Scott looks up. He's like, Mark, I'm really disappointed in you. I'm like, what the hell? I'm not a bus driver. I'm a bass player. I've never signed up for this. I'm doing the best I can, and I've never driven the bus since then. So
yeah.
It's
always best to go out while you're on top. Right?
I went down in a fiery blaze. That was So now I sit shotgun. I try to keep people company from time to time, and
you need somebody to sit shotgun.
I know. Yeah.
You need a good co-pilot.
Yeah, that's right. I try to be that.
We probably have one or two more questions.
Okay.
Let's see. So, Katie Musselman, as a self-described extrovert. Oh my God, I can't speak. Extroverted introvert. What are some aspects of being a touring musician that came naturally to you? And what are some expectations that you had to grow into a bit more? Are you a self-described extroverted introvert?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think anything really comes natural to touring, regardless if you're an introvert or not.
It's a pretty unnatural
very unnatural way to live a life.
Yeah.
But I think the only natural thing, I guess, is just playing the show, but everything else is just, I have social awkwardness. I don't like being in a crowd. So I normally, when we get done with a show, I kind of headline. I'm kind of like, Rush is one of my favorite bands, and Neil here was notorious for once he finished his last note, he would sprint to the bus, and the bus would take him away, and he would park somewhere, and they would ride his BMW motorcycle to the next show. I do similar thing. I finish the show and I beeline to our bus, or our RV, whatever, and but it doesnit leave. It just sits there, and I just zone out for a while. I sit there, and I think about that I have to go back in there and pack my gear up. So it's not. But I literally just have to go out there and into the bus and zone out for a little bit, have a beer, and then I can go back in when there's less people mingling around, and I can handle it then at whoever's left there to talk to. But it's just having a lot of people asking me questions from all over the place. It's just
it's too much.
It really is exhausting. So
it is exhausting.
Yeah, but there really is nothing that is natural about touring.
Is that something that gets better over time, or is just that this is how I do it?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think it does.
Yeah.
I think I've tried. And it never feels comfortable for me. So what's happening now is kind of working, where I can just give myself a break after the show and just kind of let people kind of file out a little bit, and then I can go back in there.
Yeah. Is the rock boat like a nightmare for you?
I'm a bass player, so there's very rarely anybody coming up to me to talk to me. So in that setting, so I can just. Every once in a while, someone will say, "Nice job" at that show, and I give a thumbs up. But I could imagine being like Scott or, because he just gets
It's too much.
Yeah, I think he enjoys it though. I think.
Yeah, some people enjoy it.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's a second part to that question. 3 years ago, you released a solo album. What creative itches did that process scratch? That working on an album with the band doesn't quite satisfy, and vice versa.
Well, again, like I think the solo record was a project that was just kind of brought out of the pandemic. It was this happened right in the heart of it. Like I had some demos that I had written out for the band that didn't get used, that I've been just really wanting to finish, and that gave me the time to do that and just kind of put all those songs away.
Yeah.
So I don't have to think about them anymore as potential Red, White, and Blue songs.
Right.
So I cleaned all those up and worked on everything that I wanted to work on with those, and then wrote a few extra songs to kind of make a package, like little EP.
Cool.
Yeah, but it was great. It kept me busy, and it kept my mind working throughout that part of the time. I think without the pandemic, I don't know if I ever would have done it.
Yeah.
It was great to have something that was just completely mine. I had no one to answer to but myself, and
So yeah, it's cool.
so it's kind of fun.
It wasn't
exactly like what you're going through right now too.
Yeah. I really wanted to. I've always wanted to release my own stuff, and the pandemic was a great way for that to happen, and I had time to do it, and also like the community around the podcast and everything. I was doing the live streams every week, and they were really helpful in kind of like supporting that idea, and like kind of made me want to do it and made me feel comfortable in doing it. I always I get pretty self-conscious about doing that kind of thing.
Everyone does.
Right. And I just I've had so many songs over the years. I've always written songs and stuff, and just it was nice to be able to finally get one out.
Yeah, it's a great song too.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, did you just record that at home or?
I recorded it all at home. I mixed it. The only thing that I didn't do on it was play the keyboard and the organ and stuff, and master it. I mixed it and everything.
That's great.
Yeah, it was a great process. It was a long process because I didn't want to put out something that wasn't gonna hold up to the other great bands that we play with, that the things that they release. I wanted to at least sound up to par with everybody else. I didn't want to have it be,
I wish I would have done that.
No, I mean it's just that's one thing that always held me back, was because we're around so many really good songwriters and stuff all the time. So you're just you don't want to release something that's going to be just kind of a stinker. And,
of course,
whatever. So I waited a long time, but I'm gonna try to be better about just doing stuff and putting things out.
Putting it out there,
because
the first one's the hardest, right?
Yeah, first one was definitely the hardest, and I definitely feel more confident to do it again. I would like to get other players on it and maybe not do everything myself next time,
because it was farm out that stuff. Yeah,
it was a lot, man.
Yeah,
it was a lot.
I'm sure.
And it just took so long. It'd be great to mix in a really good mixing studio or something, rather than have to go from my little desk with my speakers to my car.
Yeah, I know.
To the speakers and then back to the car.
The car is the final stage. It's where all hope is lost. You go out there I think it's good. You go to the car, it's terrible.
It's garbage.
Right? Yeah, they'll go back and try again, and the car will always tell you if it's good or not.
I know. It's such a weird phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's I just want to mix in the car.
I wish they should make a mixing studio like that. Just
Seriously.
Get in the front seat, and we got your console right here.
Yeah.
And,
I'm in the Subaru 5000.
Yeah. That's a great one. That's a great one to do in it too. Good low end.
Yeah, man. What do you guys have stuff coming up?
We have a few things in May. We have this big Ohio weekend that we do, trying to make it an annual thing, just to reach every corner of the state. We do up the west in the Bowling Green, Toledo area. Then we do Youngstown at the West Side Bowl, and then we go down to Cincinnati and play a show there, and just kind of hit all the corners. End up driving 1,000 miles in Ohio for that weekend. But
Ohio's huge.
It is,
especially if you're
big.
going around.
Yeah, especially that way, you can make it really long.
Yeah.
And then after that, we have some shows in the summertime. Our record's gonna be out in June, so the fall is what
I love it, man.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, I really love it.
Thank you so much.
Great.
It
sounds awesome.
Means a lot for me because we really are super proud of it. And then we did it. No producer. We did it ourselves and recorded it here in town. And we had John Spiker, who is our old drummer recommended him. We were looking for a mixer, and he just knocked all the songs out of the park. It was so good. He's so good.
Yeah, it's awesome. It sounds great. It's like so you guys. Like it's pretty unmistakable. And Scott sent it to me. I want to say a couple months ago, or about a month ago, or something. Mm-hmm. Listened to it front to back. Just like loved the whole thing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so
thank you very much.
So people are going to be very lucky to have that new album out in the world. It's gonna be great.
Can't wait to get it out there for sure.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, that was great.
Thank you.
We'll call it there.
Let's do it. That's it. Yeah. High five it.
Thanks, man. I'm going to get some pizza.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Mark. It's always fun to see the boys from Red Wanting Blue. Go check out their new singles, and I'm not sure if their new album will be out by the time this is out, but they have a new album, and I believe it's called Light It Up. I listened to it a couple months back, and it is awesome. It's really, really great. Title track, Light It Up, amazing. The song Goliath, which they have a great live video that they shot from the Rock Boat, is really, really awesome. So you guys need to go check them out if you haven't heard them before. If you're big fans of Red Wanting Blue, don't sleep on their tour dates. They're coming to you. Don't miss the show because it's fantastic. I mentioned the newsletter already. That's in the description below, and it's free to sign up. It comes out every Sunday. Over the Hump live stream, which also features the great Scott Terry from Red Wanting Blue doing a solo performance from his apartment. But that's it. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.